Answer me this. Have you ever given up on a game after just a few minutes, whether because you were bored, confused, or just didn't care what was about to happen? If so, that is exactly why first impressions are so important, as they're integral to setting up the entire rest of the experience. And what the heck is going on here? Where does this box come from? What's inside it? We'll find out soon enough, but for now we got a video to get back to. So, like I was saying, first impressions are everything, especially for a video game. If a game feels boring right off the bat, or makes you feel overwhelmed too early on, there's a good chance it might drop it for something else. So a good opening has to hook you right off the bat. And one way to do so is by building a sense of intrigue that you just have to see how it plays out. Of course, this is also true for other forms of media too, like movies. But games are unique in that they're also interactive, which adds a whole other level of complexity. Because a truly great intro will not only hook you, it'll also teach you how to play the game at the same time, to ensure that you'll stick with it for hours to come. And as it turns out, the Bowser's Fury half of Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury is a masterclass in how to start a game off perfectly. It's mysterious and thrilling, atmospheric and alluring, and all the while, it secretly communicates the game's entire gameplay loop without ever slowing down or saying a single word. You probably didn't even notice how unusually complex Bowser's Fury's gameplay loop is for a Mario game because of how effortlessly the game communicates the entire structure to you. Consider this. Bowser's Fury is an open-world platformer set in a land that grows progressively larger and features recurring boss battles against a seemingly invincible titan that you cannot hide from. And yet, the game makes perfect sense every step of the way. And it's mostly thanks to the especially clever opening few minutes. Which perhaps shouldn't be too surprising considering this is the same company that taught us not all mushrooms are to be feared in the opening seconds of Super Mario Bros. And yet, even Nintendo has struggled with bloated game openings and tedious tutorials in the years since, in an effort to teach you everything you need to know, even if you won't need to know it until hours later. So what exactly sets the opening of Bowser's Fury apart from its more even-tempered peers? Well, it comes down to two key ingredients: the ability to captivate, while secretly teaching us how to play the game the entire time. So let's break down all the tricks Nintendo deployed to uncover what makes it so damn good in our latest episode of Secrets of the Gameplay. Part 1. A captivating beginning. A great opening needs a great hook to immediately invest the player from the moment they press start. But how? Well, the answer is just inside this mysterious box. So should we finally open it and take a look inside? I think we should! Here we go! What could it be? The suspense! Oh my goodness, you're not gonna believe this! It's another mystery box! What on earth? Okay, well surely there has to be something good inside this one, right? Here we go! Again! Oh my god, it's a third mystery box! What is this, a Russian nesting dolls of boxes? But believe it or not, all three of these are actually the answer. Yep, we're talking about the mystery box. As in, the idea of introducing a mystery that the viewer just has to know the answer to. In this case, literally being what's inside the box. Filmmaker J.J. Abrams, for better or worse, is famous for his use of the technique to build intrigue from the very start. He even dedicated an entire TED Talk explaining the concept. But in the interest of time, I quite like this definition from the website Justin Kanowski, which describes it as dropping people into the middle of a mystery in progress that leaves them wanting to know answers in both directions. Which is quite literally what happens in J.J. Abrams' own show, Lost, in which an airplane crash lands on a mysterious island containing some kind of strange monster. Huh, why does that sound so familiar? Because Bowser's Fury uses almost the exact same setup, with Mario crash landing headfirst onto a mysterious island, which contains a crashed airship and a giant monster. Okay, I'll be real, this comparison is a little bit more on the nose than I expected it to be. Point is, Bowser's Fury introduces an aura of mystery from the very start, and it leads you to ask all kinds of questions, like,
what's this icky paint-like goop?
Why did it make us fall? Where are we now? Why is it storming? Who created those giant footprints? How did the airship crash? And what's with the literal pile of mystery boxes? Yeah, we're not in Kansas anymore. Kansas, maybe. Not even a minute in, and the game already has us asking all kinds of questions. Which means we're locked in. We're actively engaging with the presentation rather than sleepwalking through it. Such as in, say, the opening to the other half of the game being Super Mario 3D World, which contains absolutely zero mystery or intrigue, and it isn't even playable. Now the irony of all of this is that the mystery is almost entirely in service to the game's opening, rather than the overall story, as the rest of Bowser's Fury isn't all that concerned with resolving a giant mystery. Hell, most of the questions we raised are going to be answered in the next couple of minutes or so. And arguably even sooner if you consider the title screen spoils it. Part of why this intro is so attention-grabbing is the stark contrast the game creates between the normal world that Mario starts in and the new one he's transported to. Daytime, nighttime, clear skies, thunderstorms, singing birds, no wildlife, cute music, no music, gentle rounded hills, terrifying mountainous spikes. The setting is intriguing but clearly dangerous at the same time, and it immediately puts us on edge, which helps prepare us for what lies ahead. And that includes the very moment that Mario crash lands into a giant set of footprints, which not only ensures they don't miss that particular detail, but also teases how insignificant Mario is compared to whatever he's about to encounter next. And it just so happens that this is when the game becomes playable, a mere 40 seconds in, which is damn swift even by Mario standards, being less than half the time of Super Mario 3D World. It really wastes no time in getting to the action, and that's a surefire way to engage the player, as everything in the opening from this point on is communicated through actual gameplay. By making the player an active participant, it ensures they're paying attention, and thus are more receptive to being taught lessons through observation rather than being explicitly told. After all, they say the best way of learning is by doing, and this is something Nintendo understands better than most. Now, it's not long before the mood shifts abruptly from cautious intrigue to survival, as what first appeared to be a mountain of spikes in the distance suddenly bursts to life when lightning strikes, revealing the most grotesque form of Bowser yet, and that's saying something. And what an entrance it is! He even rolled out the red carpet! For himself? Okay, now Mario's encountered Bowser at the start of other games before too, but never quite like this, in a fully playable sequence that has real final boss energy. Hell, Mario's even gonna end up defeating him here, for a time at least, at the very start of the game. It's epic and thrilling, in a way that Mario's never been before this early into the game. And it's also a great payoff to some of the mysteries that have already been set up, which teased some kind of large foreboding presence. And it perfectly disguises that this entire sequence is really just one giant tutorial to teach you about the game's basic gameplay loop, which you probably didn't even notice because you were too busy having fun and trying not to die, even if, spoiler alert, you're never actually in any real danger. It's an astonishingly memorable way to open a game, while also being incredibly clever at the same time. Because from the very moment you take your first step on First Step Island, hey, I see what they did there! And up to grabbing the first cat shine, the game is communicating essential information every step of the way. Yeah, the lessons begin well before Fury Bowser even appears. So let's break down exactly what Bowser's Fury is doing to secretly teach you how to play the game step by step. Or should I say, giant step by giant step. Speaking of giants, we need to talk real quick about another game where you can battle some truly gigantic enemies. It's called Dimensionals, and it's pretty awesome. And not just because they're the sponsor of this video. Dimensionals is a fast-paced roguelike RPG that looks a lot like a Saturday morning cartoon. Seriously, the animation blew me away right from the very start, and then it kept me engaged through its strategic gameplay. Because in Dimensionals, you need to carefully manage a healthier team of heroes across as many battles as you can last for. And between fights, you can upgrade your team's attacks or swap out any of the over 100 skills between the more than 24 heroes. One unique thing that I really liked about this game is how it shows you who the enemy will be attacking next, giving you a chance to be strategic and defend against it ahead of time, which will hopefully ensure your survival until the next battle. The fast pace and strategic gameplay kept me engaged, especially with the energetic presentation. I really enjoyed the art style for all the heroes and other characters you'll meet, and I especially liked how these bubbles reacted to my cursor. Whee! Look, as some of you probably know, I'm not usually one for roguelikes, but I had a hard time putting this game down in time to actually write a segment about it. So if it looks like Dimensionals is up your alley, you can buy and play the game on Steam right now, using the link in the description below. And hey, there's even a free demo that you can try too. Part 2, the lessons. Don't let the icky goop and all those hazard signs scare you, as this is actually a safe place.
Mostly.
Because despite the oppressive weather, there are no enemies to be found here, at least not yet, nor is there any real pressure to hurry along, which gives you plenty of time to observe the surroundings, including those signs found in the toxic sludge all around the island, which is the only place they appear in the entire game, and that's because their purpose is to subtly teach us the first lesson, which is that black goop is bad for your health. It's a simple but effective lesson, as it uses the environment to teach us rather than slowing down and explicitly stating it. Not that the black goo look particularly inviting anyway, but it is good to have that reassurance before testing the waters, or black waters in this case. And it is an important lesson for something so prevalent throughout the game. There's even a stone wall around the island's entire perimeter to try and keep even the most intrepid of explorers away from it. Wait!
Arrivederci.
No, Mario, what are you doing? You're too young to die! Oh, phew, false alarm. Turns out there's a lip hidden just beyond the wall to catch any idiots who decide to vault over. Nintendo really did think of everything. Point is, this starting area has all the danger of a McDonald's play place, and essentially serves the same purpose as the garden outside the castle in Super Mario 64, providing a safe space to familiarize yourself with the game's controls. The trees encourage climbing and jumping between them, and even getting caught up in a giant footprint requires a jump to get out. Though a few mandatory ledges ahead also ensures you're familiar with Mario's most essential skill before the action truly begins. And that's our second lesson, which, yeah, most of us probably knew by now, but it's nice to know that Nintendo keeps even new gamers in mind too. Even though it's practically impossible to get lost in this small area, there's a paved trail to guide you to the next waypoint, being the crashed airship. But before hopping aboard, you might be drawn to this odd pile of Bowser blocks, only to realize they're completely unresponsive to anything that Mario does. Which isn't just mysterious, but also our third lesson. Lesson 3. Mario can't break Bowser blocks by himself. From here, a glowing catshine can be seen piercing the darkness, as it beckons from across the boat's bow, which unfortunately means we have to cross this giant piece of ship. But just as you step foot onto it, a thunderbolt lights up the night sky, revealing Fury Bowser in the darkness. And this marks a critical turning point in the opening sequence, where it switches from cautious intrigue to hardcore school lesson, but disguised as an exciting encounter against what will eventually be the final boss of the game. In fact, we just learned lesson 4. Fury Bowser can appear unexpectedly. Fury Bowser's attacks come on just as suddenly, with fireballs raining down from the sky and strange pillars that plummet into the ground, both of which you'll encounter time and time again over the course of the game. Meaning this first encounter is already preparing us for those eventual re-encounters. Now, it's not quite as dangerous as it may seem. It's impossible to be hit by the pillars, for instance, and Bowser shows remarkable restraint here, only unleashing his fireball attack for now, which itself is telegraphed well in advance by lighting up the ground beneath their landing point. And unlike some of the pillars you'll encounter later in the game, these pillars drop exclusively based on Mario's proximity to them, which is such a smart way to communicate that they're not a natural part of the environment and only appear when Fury Bowser does, dynamically changing the landscape. And that's lesson 5. Pillars appear alongside Fury Bowser and alter the world. And this is made abundantly clear when 4 pillars suddenly burrow into the ground near the bow of the ship, blocking the exit off of it. But don't worry, a trail of coins pop up immediately after for the sole purpose of spotlighting an alternate route, further driving home that the pillars can change how you navigate the world, even if this example isn't necessarily beneficial to Mario. But just ahead, 2 more pillars slam into the ground, which this time is a good thing, as it allows Mario to use them as platforms to reach a high ledge, which teaches that these pillars aren't necessarily obstacles to be avoided, but rather tools to be used. And that's lesson 6, that pillars can be used for good, and that's a really important lesson for what's coming next. The catshine is just ahead now, though it remains out of reach atop what we now know is an impenetrable wall of Bowser blocks. But before you're left scratching your head for too long, 2 more pillars plummet into the ground, but this time they actually serve a secret purpose that's about to be revealed. And the answer is right here inside this mysterious box. Nah, I'm just kidding. And the game's going to make sure that you don't miss it, because regardless of how you position the camera, it automatically reorients itself here so that the pillars and the nearby Bowser blocks are on either side of the TV screen, creating a window that perfectly frames Fury Bowser within. And this ensures that you don't miss the grand finale, as Fury Bowser prepares the most devastating attack yet, his fiery breath. Even when charging it up, the light emitting from his mouth is so bright that it casts shadows on pretty much every object around you, including this very window frame, which not only looks sick AF, but it also subtly conveys important information, such as Bowser's general location obviously being opposite the shadows, as well as which objects offer protection, as Mario is about to discover firsthand for himself when Fury Bowser finally unleashes his fiery breath a moment later. First by igniting the pillars on the left, before sweeping it across the gap to the large pile of Bowser bricks on the right, giving you enough time to seek shelter in the shadows behind them. Which teaches you 2 things. Lesson 7, that objects can protect you from Bowser's fiery breath, and Lesson 8, that shadows show where those objects are. You probably don't appreciate it much in the moment, especially when you're seemingly pixels away from death. But this is critical knowledge in an open world where Fury Bowser can attack from any direction, and you might not always know where he is. And it's fantastic this concept is conveyed so organically. Anyways, the platforms collapse in the wake of Fury Bowser's attack, demonstrating that while they do offer protection, it's only on a limited time basis.
There's some fine print for you.
And that's lesson 9, that even Bowser's platforms aren't immune to his fiery breath. But hold up, that giant stack of Bowser blocks is taken out too, showing that they too can actually be destroyed, but only by Fury Bowser himself, which now explains why they light up whenever he appears. And that's our 10th lesson. Only Fury Bowser can destroy the Bowser bricks. And in this case, Bowser's hubris is also his undoing, as those blocks are guarding the very staircase that Mario needed to climb in order to reach the cat shine. And it's probably no accident that it's basically indicative of the entire purpose of Bowser blocks in the first place, as they almost always lead to a cat shine. Anyways, this is when we learn the true purpose of the cat shines, as they can power up the nearby lighthouses to create a light so bright, it forces Fury Bowser to retreat and restores the world to its usual peaceful self, for a time at least. And that's lesson 11. Cat shines activate lighthouses and repel Fury Bowser, which cements that everything we just experienced, the stormy weather, fireballs, and plummeting platforms, all correlate directly with the appearance of Fury Bowser, and that the key to keeping him at bay and restoring peace is to simply collect a cat shine. And that's lesson 12, that bad weather means bad times with Fury Bowser. So even though we don't officially know yet that Fury Bowser will be returning throughout the game, we'll know exactly what's about to happen the next time it begins to rain, as well as how to deal with him shortly after. But even though Bowser's gone for now, our lessons aren't over yet, as some of the goop has been cleared away, allowing islands to appear in its place, which demonstrates how collecting shines tie into the game's overall progression, allowing for more areas to be explored. And that's lesson 13. Cat shines unlock more islands. Now technically there is a little bit more to this step, as it also involves a Giga Bell later on, but the game will teach you the rest once you actually need to know it. And with that, we have just about learned the entirety of the gameplay loop in Bowser's Fury, all without the player realizing they were being taught the entire time, as a direct result of how the game hides those lessons within actual gameplay. It is truly brilliant stuff that few developers could pull off this seamlessly. Now even though collecting the shine could be considered the end of the game's intro, or at least the end of the game's version of World 1-1, we're going to push just a bit further. I mean, we just can't leave poor Bowser Jr. hanging, can we? But he's like a mile down. How the heck do we safely reach him? Well, the coins leading off the nearby boardwalk encourages the obvious. It just requires a leap of faith. Whee! What a landing! And that teaches us one final lesson. There's no fall damage. Like, at all. Which is technically hinted at the very start when Mario fell face first into the ground. If he can survive that, surely this little drop is nothing to him. But since cutscenes often abide by different logic, demonstrating it through actual gameplay is always going to be the more effective option. This drop also draws a clear line in the sand, literally in this case, between everything we just experienced and the rest of the game, as there's no going back at this point, effectively marking this as the point where the real adventure begins, which of course is when we meet up with Bowser Jr., who joins us for the rest of the adventure as we try to rescue his dad from the unfortunate fate that befell him, which also helps draw to a close the mystery that started it all. Who painted that strange goopy M that started this wild adventure? As Bowser Jr. isn't just quite the accomplished painter, clearly, but he's also the one who painted those very same M's 20 years ago in Mario Sunshine. The lore! Look, we're only a few minutes in and we're already getting way more satisfying answers than Lost ever did across 6 seasons. Hey, I'm just saying this time I'm never gonna get back, okay? So with the world restored, for now at least, and Bowser Jr. officially on the team, that's where we'll consider the game's intro officially over. So let's quickly recap everything that Bowser's Fury has taught us so far, and I do mean quickly because there's a lot to get through, like...
Toxic goo is bad. How to jump in basic controls. Mario can't break Bowser blocks by himself. Fury Bowser can attack unexpectedly. Pillars appear alongside Fury Bowser and alter the world. Pillars can be used for good. Objects can protect you from Bowser's fiery breath. Shadows reveal where to take shelter. Platforms aren't immune to Bowser's fiery breath. Only Fury Bowser can destroy Bowser blocks. Cat shines activate lighthouses and repel Fury Bowser. Bad weather means bad times with Fury Bowser. Collecting cat shines unlocks more islands and no fall damage.
Woo! I'm out of breath, and that's not even to mention the overall gameplay loop that the game also teaches you, with Fury Bowser periodically appearing and how you have to deal with him. And it does all of this in under 2 minutes, without once subjecting us to a tedious tutorial or even a single word of text. Wow, way to throw me under the bus there, editor. It is absolute genius, and truly embraces the spirit of World 1-1 from Super Mario Bros., which similarly taught you the game's fundamentals without the player ever consciously realizing it. Heck, even the staircase at the end here is reminiscent of the one that leads to the flagpole in that same game. And funnily enough, that was also the only other Mario game to feature more than 3 recurring Bowser battles. and that entire sequence is wrapped up within the most epic and thrilling openings in Mario history. It's not just a pretty sequence, but one that teaches fundamentals about the entire journey. And that's precisely why Bowser's Fury is a masterclass in how to open a game. Before we wrap up, I wanted to go over a few assorted observations I had that didn't quite fit in anywhere else. For all of you aspiring isekai writers, if you're never quite sure how to get your protagonist into the new world, just have them fall down a hole. Because Bowser's Fury is far from the first to do this, as it can also be seen in Majora's Mask and Alice in Wonderland. Which is a little too perfect considering the Mario series originally drew inspiration from Alice in Wonderland in the first place. As part of that sequence, there's even a literal shift in perspective, with how the opening cutscene, you know the part that you can play, plays out like a 2D Mario adventure with the camera to the side, whereas the camera immediately adopts a more 3D-like perspective the very moment Mario falls into the brand new world. During that fall, Mario's hat just barely clips through the camera, which honestly I can't unsee now. While I'm nitpicking, I really don't like how the rain effect is just a flat animation laid on top of the screen. It doesn't even change direction as you move the camera. The very first playable moment is nearly identical to Mario Odyssey, with Mario having crash landed in a strange new world and requiring a button press to hop to it. In Bowser's Fury case, any button will work, whereas you had to specifically press a jump button in Mario Odyssey, which I think actually is a better option as a teaching tool to make sure you understand what jump is, and I'm surprised it wasn't reused here. A watchful eye might catch Bowser's silhouette long before he appears, even if it just looks like a mountain of spikes barely visible in the night sky. Am I the only one who thought this lightning bolt that first lit him up felt awfully similar to this tornado scene in Twister? And people say Nintendo games aren't cinematic. Speaking of Fury Bowser, how did he not stomp the hell out of those trees when stepping across the island to the water? I earlier noted how the camera locks onto Bowser during this moment, but it actually happens once before then too, just as you step onto the ship and Bowser appears, just to make sure you don't miss him. Fury Bowser won't actually unleash his fire breath attack until you get close enough to the window frame, or what's left of it, to ensure that you can't be attacked until you reach a safe spot. What a nice guy! The normally brief segment between grabbing the first shine and encountering Bowser Jr. is the only time in the entire game where Fury Bowser won't eventually appear, as he'll just bop around endlessly on his gooey geyser. By the way, where was Bowser Jr. hanging out before the second landmass even appeared? Was he just chilling underwater? Hey, did you know you can meet Bowser Jr. as Small Mario? Probably not, because you really have to go out of your way to take damage before that point. But I do love how Mario looks especially annoyed in this tiny state. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the latest episode and what will hopefully be an ongoing series, Secrets of the Gameplay. I already have an idea for the next episode, but I need all of you to let me know if you want to see it. If you do, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to share this video with your friends. Until next time, bye bye!